What's up everyone? Guess what I just finished reading? I mean, yeah, you guessed by the title. I just finished reading Junji Ito's Tomie, and oh my god, he really tried hard to paint her the villain, didn't he? And I mean, yeah, in some cases she is. Like, don't get me wrong, her actions are bad. But how is it different that, I don't know, surviving? This might be a bit of a long video, so get your popcorn or your water. Hydration is important. And let's get into it. STEM funk here, and you know what? Let's dive straight into the topic. Unpopular opinion, but Tomie is not the villain, she's the victim. I actually mean it in spite of that ridiculous phrase. I just cannot say unpopular opinion like a normal person. Anyway, if you're not aware, Tomie is this collection of loosely connected short stories by horror manga author Junji Ito, with the titular character Tomie Kawakami, the femme fatale with an iconic beauty mark under her left eye, appearing in different locations with different characters in each installment. Tomie has this supernatural ability to drive men to madness, obsession, and even murder. Time and time again, Tomie finds a new person, drives them nuts, and the result is always Tomie getting killed. Now, yeah, Tomie is a morally wicked character, but if you're going to end up dead in the most brutal way possible, why not take the most disgusting men with you? No matter what happens, she knows she will be murdered. Not might be, will be. The men who love her inevitably end up destroying her, driven by this disgusting urge to completely own her. Tomie is always the instigator of the chaos, but she is also the final victim. There are actually 20 short stories, so let's go through them one by one. The very first story is called Tomie, and it starts with the funeral of Tomie. Now, I'm not sure if Tomie was like this normal person before her death, but you see her relatives and friends all attend the funeral, so I'm guessing she had a normal family. Anyway, so the next day the teacher is thanking everyone for attending the funeral and announces that the police don't have any leads on the killer. And as soon as he says even though they miss her terribly, she won't be back, the classroom door opens and here stands Tomie in flesh and blood. Everyone in school is in pure shock, like they call her ghost, a zombie, or maybe the twin sister. Now what really happened is that the day Tomie died, the class went on a hike on a nearby mountain, and as she was spending more time with the teacher on a cliff talking about how she might be pregnant and the school might soon find out about them sleeping together, Yamamoto, Tomie's boyfriend, comes storming in trying to hurt Tomie when she loses balance and accidentally falls from the height. And instead of calling for help, the teacher convinces everyone to disassemble her into 42 pieces, and everyone should take a piece and throw it somewhere far. And they give the heart to her best friend Reiko. At one point when they felt Tomie was alive, they still did not stop. Tomie is a child, she's 15, and the cycle that started of her getting murdered, chopped up in pieces, this is never ending. This is her fate. So yeah, if she takes care of some awful men in the process, I don't think she's the real monster. After this incident, Mr. Takagi goes crazy seeing Tomie back to school, so he gets hospitalized. Yamamoto died because he wanted to tell police the truth, but others killed him, and Reiko moved to a different town thinking she finally left everything behind, when she finds Tomie's body sprouting out of a cave near the ocean. So since there are 42 pieces, I'm guessing there will be 42 Tomies sprouting out of different places. And that's just the beginning of her endless cycle of torment. In every chapter, no matter how manipulative Tomie is, she will end up dismembered, decapitated, burned, or worse, and yet she always comes back. The second story, called Photograph, is about this girl Sukiko, a photographer student who clicks and sells pictures of someone's crush to them. Tomie doesn't like this since she's the leader of the public moral committee of the school and asks to put a stop to it. Sukiko decides to secretly take embarrassing pictures of Tomie but manages to capture this strange, distorted anomalies of her face. Tomie hates this and she uses her goons and Sukiko's crush Yamazaki to try and end her. Tomie then traps Sukiko in her place, and when Sukiko calls her out on her lying, saying it's a disease, Tomie gets so upset that her head begins to split. Her goons try to help her take off the new growth, but they end up cutting too much and decapitating her. Silly mistake. The tumor then orders the goons to burn it, otherwise there will be a new Tomie emerging out of it, and Sukiko is left cleaning the mess. In the third story, Yamazaki and Sukiko tries to make amends even though he literally tried to kill her like few days back. He tells her he can still hear Tomie all the time. Then Tomie starts growing out of the carpet where her blood was spilled, and once again she starts seducing Yamazaki until her goons interrupt. They try to take out Yamazaki, but this pisses off Tomie, and so she tells the guy to jump off the balcony. The police arrive, they take Yamazaki to an institution, and the chapter ends with Yamazaki looking out his window at the garbage dump where the carpet with Tomie's blood was sprouting more Tomies. The fourth story again is a continuation of Tsukiko's storyline as Tomie comes back in her life few days later. She lures Tsukiko into her mansion saying that's where Yamazaki is, but of course that's a lie, and instead we see Tomie had taken an old man and his daughter captive and are trying to stop her regeneration with the help of Mr. Takagi, the teacher from the first chapter. Tsukiko tries to escape and finds the old man's real daughter in a room where they have injected her with Tomie cells and turned her into a monstrous Tomie-like caterpillar thingy. Tsukiko escapes and we never see her again. The fifth story starts in a very different location. In an ice-capped mountain, some hikers find the body of Tomie, who is alive, and tells them that her old boyfriend chopped her to pieces and dumped her there to die. One guy helps her, sacrificing everything for her until he freezes to death, and only one man, the one who isn't actually interested in Tomie, is left trying to survive with her in a cabin. So this guy has actually been hiking to find her brother, and Tomie reveals that her old boyfriend is his brother, Tetsuya. Again, something takes over the guy and he thinks, well, if my brother chopped you up, maybe he did that out of love, so I should also kill you. Make it make sense. So Tomie dies again. After finishing the job, when he goes out, he finds his brother being eaten by this other Tomie that's sprouting out of him. In the sixth story, a salesman travels around trying to sell people a part of Tomie's flesh, like little mass of Tomie, and promises if you plant this, a beautiful girl will grow out of it in no time. I have no idea what kind of crazy you have to be to try to even sell something like this. Obviously no one buys, and after he was being chased by the villagers for selling something so abhorrent, he dumps all this meat seeds into a nearby basin. And then slowly men in the village start to go missing as they jump into the basin and never come out. Turns out there are aquatic Tomies who have started growing in the coral environment, and in the end a large group of fully formed Tomie march out of the basin into the village. The thought of a group of Tomie is indeed terrifying. The next volume of Tomie starts with establishing that Tomie's teacher, Mr. Takagi, has broken out of the institution he was in. Obviously. And the main story actually revolves around this girl Yukiko, who's hospitalized and waiting for a kidney transplant. Her friend and crush Tadashi visits her every day, lately seem kinda cold, and that is because he has started seeing Kesu. Yep, Tomie. 2 days later, Tomie comes to visit Yukiko and tells her not to see Tadashi anymore because Tadashi is her and she's just wasting his time, and that Yukiko can never compete with Tomie. God, I fucking hate Tomie sometimes. With Tadashi, Tomie acts like an absolute brat, and she's actually going by the name Reiko now, her best friend's name from the first chapter. But she ultimately reveals her real name is Tomie, and no matter how much Tomie lies or act bratty, Tadashi still can't leave Tomie. He mentions that he found her on a beach one day, I'm guessing the same beach that had the cave from where Tomie was sprouting out of in chapter 1. Tadashi suddenly realized he should have never betrayed Yukiko, and so he decides to kill Tomie in an alleyway. When he gets caught by the police and questioned, he says he has no idea why he did that other than feeling this intense urge to chop her into pieces. See, this is what I'm talking about. I think Yukiko dodged a real bullet out there. If just seeing someone makes you want to kill them, maybe you're not the nicest person in the world. And you only got to see Yamazaki's true nature when he was with Tomie. Now after Tomie dies, the doctor are like free kidney and decide to use that for the kidney transplant for Yukiko. They also took permission from Tomie's father, which is just Mr. Takagi, who claims to be her father, and after like a month of the kidney transplant, Yukiko feels this intense pain in her stomach, and they find out a new Tomie is sprouting out of that kidney inside Yukiko. The chapters end with them removing the fetus Tomie and growing her in the basement. In the next chapter, the hospital story continues when another patient named Sato discovers the secret basement lab. By this time, Yukiko is fully healed and glowing. She feels so confident, almost too confident like Tomie, and that's because Tomie's cells are still inside her, healing her. Lab Tomie begins to seduce this Dr. Tamura, and when she finally grows fully, Dr. Tamura takes her to his place, but she returns and sets fire to the lab as it's revealed the only way to get rid of Tomie without her multiplying is by burning her. By the end, Yukiko walks out of the hospital completely transformed into Tomie. In chapter 9, Tomie comes across this famous painter and asks him to capture her beauty, and he does that, but she hates it, saying it doesn't capture even the 10th of her beauty. The painter becomes super obsessed with Tomie Tomie, but by this time Tomie has moved on to some other artist who's a sculptor. So the painter goes to the sculptor, I think kills him, finds Tomie and promises to draw her better, but instead he draws the two-faced Tomie like the one captured by the photographer in the second chapter. She again ridiculed the painter, so yeah, he again killed her, slashing her into pieces and watched until new Tomies grew out of the parts. What are these men? Please stop killing for like 1 fucking second. In the next story, Tomie is attacked randomly one night when a man comes and saves her, but she knows she's dying, so she tells him to bury her, but not to burn her. While burying her, the guy finds out there's another Tomie head growing out of OG Tomie's chest, who asks him to burn OG Tomie. He doesn't listen, brings Tomie head back to his place, and this tumor Tomie is again being a brat, ordering around the guy saying she wants caviar and foie gras. Girl has taste. She constantly says to burn OG Tomie, but by the time the guy goes back to the place where he burned OG Tomie, she's already out and ordering new guys to kill tumor Tomie. The guy kills the assassin, goes out to kill OG Tomie, but ends up getting seduced by her, and the chapter ends with tumor Tomie scared that the guy will come back and try to kill her. Now the 11th story is kinda different than the others. Tomie doesn't really appear here, but her hair does. Basically, a schoolgirl finds this luscious hair in her father's drawer. I think that's more creepy, because why does a grown-up has a box of hair of some 15-year-old? But she does find and shows it to her friend when she becomes obsessed with it and decides to grow more of it in her home. Meanwhile, in the first girl's home, her father is getting more and more insane because he cannot find the hair and is blaming his wife for it. The main girl eventually goes insane and plants Tomie hair all over her face so that she can be closer to Tomie, and her friend now has this long luscious hair because she planted the hair onto her scalp. But in the end, the hair starts growing out of every orifice of her body. And yeah, she dies because she can't breathe or anything. It was honestly disgusting to watch. This was a really yucky one. In the next chapter, Tomie gets adopted by this older couple who always wanted a daughter, but every time they adopt someone, the girl dies within weeks. They live alone with their house help Satoko, who actually has been secretly poisoning those kids, and that is why they died. She basically wants to inherit everything the couple owns, and so she starts poisoning Tomie as well, but that doesn't work and Tomie becomes more and more rude to her. The older couple absolutely pampers Tomie, and one day Tomie just tells the older man that the old lady is trying to eat her, and he obviously doesn't believe, but next day he finds the lady actually trying to nibble on Tomie. She says she doesn't know what came upon her, and then she offs herself. Sakoto grows more impatient, and so one night she decides to sneak into Tomie's room to finish her off for good, but she finds the old man already got the job done. Apparently the old man was suddenly overwhelmed with this strong desire to stab her continuously. He also killed the house help and then finally himself. In the end, Tomie wakes up and it's said she's gonna inherit everything. Girl, go get that bag. Moving on, the next chapter is called Pinky Finger. Tomie comes back as the new stepmother of these 4 guys with like this shorter hair to look more mature. 3 of the brothers get obsessed with her, but the 4th brother, who is like this kinda uglier compared to the other brothers, is completely unfazed by Tomie, and that really bothers her. Tomie is on a mission to make even the 4th brother be obsessed with her, and that doesn't sit right with the other brothers. So they lock him in a room and one day decided to, you wouldn't believe it, again chop down Tomie and ask the 4th brother to go dispose of. While he's going to dispose of the body, Tomie's body parts start moving and that scares him, so he crashes the car, and later when the police find the car, the 3 brothers blame everything on the 4th brother, and now he has been living trying to hide from the police. He finds himself living in a cave, and somehow there are 4 of Tomie's fingers in his pocket. He quickly burns them, but days later when he was hearing some voices from the cave, he finds out they did not burn properly, so new Tomies are emerging out of these semi-burned fingers. 3 fingers look all proper, but the pinky finger is still not fully developed, so she gets bullied by the other 3. I know this is supposed to be horror, but damn, this is so funny. The 4th brother sympathizes with the pinky finger and slowly falls in love with her. Now all the other 3 fingers left when they grew and healed fully, and he's left with the pinky finger, but at the end even she heals fully and leaves him without any hesitation, and he dies a few days later. Cool. The next story is gonna be a bit more disturbing because here Tomie decides to hypnotize a kid named Satoru who finds Tomie's body all slashed and floating in a cave. Now yeah, Tomie decides to latch onto this kid purely out of survival, but that too is very disturbing. He follows everything Tomie says, like getting her food and clothing, and even calls her mommy. Satoru's parents find out about this and forbid him from ever again meeting Tomie, but my boy has literally went insane. He wants to go meet Tomie with a pair of scissors, and when his mother finds that out, she locks him up in a room. But as soon as the father comes back, Satoru escapes while the parents are still in shock of what he did to the room. Satoru finds Tomie at the beach in the midst of seducing her new victim, but because no one can take his mommy away from him, Satoru stabs him. Now this is where something weird happens. As Satoru is standing near Tomie with a pair of scissors, Tomie asks him if he's going to kill her next. She laughs and tells him to wait for at least 10 more years before he kills her. Tomie knows her death is inevitable, but she wants to survive at least a bit before even the child gets fucking obsessed with her like everybody else and ends up killing her. Everything she does is out of survival. Yes, she took advantage of Satoru, but if she wouldn't have, she would have been starving and would have taken more time to heal. Satoru goes back home after Tomie tells him not to call him mother, and his parents have now tied him up. The story ends with Tomie calling back her sweetie, which I'm guessing is the kid, but also maybe his father, because the father gets seduced and leaves the house with Tomie, never to be found again. As for Satoru, he grows up and becomes a serial killer until he gets sentenced to death by lethal injection. The next story is pretty cannibalistic. Basically, a guy beats Tomie to a pulp, that pulp multiplies, and he and his friend decide to get rid of that multiplying Tomie meat pulp in the friend's parents' sake factory. They dump it in the sake and then everyone gets high off of Tomie sake. Fucking gnarly. In the 16th chapter, a strange couple calls in a babysitter who's there to watch their infant. The infant turns out to be Tomie, going by the name Marina, and she loves seeing red. So the parents lock the babysitter with Marina or Tomie and go commit arson so Tomie can see something red. The parents get caught red-handed and the babysitter is left with Tomie, who soon drives her crazy to the point slashing herself so Tomie can see something red. And when that is not enough, she cuts Tomie's what looked like the aorta, when never-ending blood starts splashing everywhere and both of them look at it amazed at how beautiful red Tomie's blood is. The 17th chapter called Gathering revolves around this guy called Umehara who recently lost his wife and is invited to this gathering by his friend Miyagawa. Tomie is the idol of this gathering and she wanted a new guy to obsess over her, and that's why Miyagawa got Umehara, but he doesn't really have any particular interest in Tomie since he is still grieving his wife's death. Soon everyone again gets too obsessed with Tomie and tried to kill Tomie. Everyone jumps at her at the same time and start killing each other. I mean, what did you expect? And by the time Umehara gets the police, no one is present there, just a pool of blood. The chapter ends with Umehara seeing Tomie as his wife in all his future dreams after that incident. The next three stories tell one complete story all related to each other. There are three Tomies who go by different names and all three wants to kill each other. When the Tomies were kids, they were actually normal babies, but this random stranger injected them with Tomie cells so he can see them grow up to be old wrinkly Tomies, and finally Tomie shuts up about her beauty. The random stranger is actually this former model who became obsessed with Tomie, but Tomie wouldn't care about him. So again he tried to kill her by slashing her face, but instead multiple Tomies generated from the slashes, and when he tried to burn them all down, he too got burned down quite a lot. So now his mission is to see Tomie be the same as him, ugly. In the last chapter, when only one Tomie is remaining, her sister and this model guy decide to pour concrete all over her, but years go by and they can still hear Tomie's voices coming out of that concrete block. At this point, they are like 80 and 100 years old, and somehow when they crack open the block, the model guy sees old wrinkly Tomie, but the sister sees nothing. Instead, she sees a crack through which Tomie probably escaped, so all these years of waiting was actually for nothing. Now you see how the true horror isn't found in Tomie's supernatural abilities or manipulations. It's in the ease with which her lovers go from loving her to brutally, heartlessly murdering her. You see how every story ends with her dying? Why is her story so biased against her? Why is she to be blamed when it's those guys ruthlessly chopping her down? The real monster is not Tomie. They are the people who resort to violence when they cannot control what they desire. From the very first story, Tomie has no agency over herself or her body. They take her organs without her consent, keep her body parts as souvenirs, literally sell her pieces, imprison her, experiment on her, and somehow she is framed the villain for simply existing and manipulating the men who will eventually end up killing her. When we first meet Tomie, she's already in an exploitative relationship with her teacher. This sets the pattern for all her future interaction, those with power using her and then discarding or destroying her when she becomes inconvenient. When viewed through this lens, you start to admire her persistence and adaptability. You start rooting for her to somehow break the cycle. I think the chapter with the little boy perfectly illustrates Tomie's predicament. She's regenerating in a cave, vulnerable and healing from her previous trauma, when this boy finds her. Now either she can shoo him away risking starvation, or she can charm him for protection. And she chooses survival. The world around Tomie is so horrifying. Like, yes, she is being a bratty. She's a fucking 15-year-old. What do you expect? But for that being slashed, decapitated, boiled alive, how does the punishment fit the crime? There is absolutely no hope for a normal life for Tomie. She's trapped in a teenage body experiencing death after death. No wonder she becomes apathetic, selfish, or manipulative. Her world has taught her that no matter what she does, she will be violated, dismembered, and blamed for it. Look, Tomie may be a morally complex character, but in a world where everyone is ready to chop her into pieces, her survival-driven actions seem more sympathetic than monstrous. Tomie lives in a society that objectifies beauty to the point of violence. And throughout the series, Tomie's beauty is her only reliable source. If her only value is her beauty, then yeah, she should leverage that to get some temporary power. Tomie exists beyond the categories like villain or victim. She's just a beautiful teenager testing the adults around her. And if those adults have completely erased the line of morality, why should she stick to it? That's it for now. Reading Tomie was literally traumatizing, to say the least. The art is fucking horrifying. How is this man, coming up with something like this? If you haven't read Tomie, there is no better time than now, so please go and have a read. I'm gonna go read more Jinto. So let's meet again in the next video. See ya!